is up? You have found We Like the Blazers. I am Brandon Mullen, and over there is a man that when he uses a public restroom, people go, geez, did that guy just drop a con bomb? It is Conor Bergen. Conor, what's up, man?
Hey, how's it going?
A little.
Didn't expect the potty humor, but I'm fine with it. We can roll with that.
As long as the Blazers are in the pooper, so are we, Conor. How are you doing? How's your weekend? Actually, it's Tuesday, but yeah, how was your Monday and Tuesday?
I'm pretty good. The Blazers were off on a nice long road trip for about 9 days, so I got
and you went with them, flew first class, got private limo situation.
I did not join the team. I stayed in Ridgefield, Washington, and got some downtime, but they just came back for now 5 games in another week or so, or maybe a week and a half, so things are picking back up again, which it's nice to be busy, so I'm happy the team's back.
Yeah, they're on a little homestand, as you said. So they just played the Heat. They're going to be playing the Nets tonight. Spoiler alert, they're playing one of the teams in the league who has more organizational impetus to lose even more strongly than the Blazers do. Then they take on the Clippers, Rockets, and Bulls if we're going back on the road to greet Pat Riley and the Heat on the 21st in Miami. So, Conor, interestingly enough, I mentioned the Blazers aren't doing that well, but I did want to ask you about something. I was checking the game logs, schedules, and results. I noticed that the Blazers were just on a little streak where they had won more games in an 8-game period than they had all year. Did it feel to you like the Blazers were doing better? It kind of feels that way. It's just strange. In this season, it's actually they were playing better. But did you pick up on that?
I felt it. I think it was a mix of a few things. One, just the competition wasn't as great. They got to play the Pelicans again, which
I
think they have.
No, it's because the Blazers are ascending into championship contention.
It's both. I will say it's both. They played the Pelicans. They played and then not only did they pick up a few more wins, but they had some more competitive losses, and that's because they played the Pistons and then they played the Mavericks without Luka Doncic or Kyrie Irving. So the schedule got a little lighter, but I do think there is truth to the team finding more of a rhythm with Deni Avdija and Toumani Camara both in the starting lineup rather than Jerami Grant. And I think Deni, we talked about it last pod, he's been their best player, their most consistent player. So I think things are working a little bit better. There's more understanding of roles without both Simons and Grant in there, and Sharp has been playing better. So
wait, you're telling me that people in an organization on a team appreciate knowing what their role is from day to day. That applies also to NBA players.
Yep.
Interesting.
I think there's truth to that argument, and the more that time passes, the more that argument comes to be true. The argument against it looks not great the more time passes.
And speaking of organizational role clarity as it relates to NBA players, I need to pigeonhole some personal good news, Conor.
Okay.
A grant that I helped work on for the city of New Haven to help reconnect neighborhoods that are split in half by the interstate received $2 million in federal funding, which is super exciting. And I was also asked to now project manage this multi-departmental team of people who are going to be helping implement this grant. It's a planning grant. We're going to be looking at all sorts of things like zoning changes, affordable housing, potentially getting rid of highway on-ramps to actually build something useful other than a highway on-ramp, and to find connections between and under I-91 specifically. But Conor, I bring all this up because our first meeting, it's my department, which is the planning department. We invited folks from the budget office, from the economic development office, from transportation, from engineering, and from housing. And my boss asked me, she's like, hey, can you put together an agenda? And I'm like, of course I can. I'm helping project manage this. That seems appropriate. And the first thing that I got on there, Conor, can you guess what bullet number 1 of meeting 1 of this multi-departmental team, can you guess what that first bullet said? It was 2 words, and we've just been talking about it. Guess what it was?
I'm gonna guess like make rolls or form rolls. A variation of that.
Role clarity.
Yeah.
And that's what we spent a lot of time on. And Connor, I have to say, because clearly my experience as a public servant is directly applicable to those of an NBA player. Obviously, I've heard this for years. A government worker, an NBA player, basically the same thing.
Oh yeah, tomato.
Tomato, tomato. But here's what was funny. When I said, hey, welcome, thank you, everyone, congratulations, how cool, we got this grant. And I was like, the first thing I want to work on is role clarity. Someone let out kind of a lighthearted chuckle. And the implication was, well, we're all kind of asked to do so much, and it's very difficult to get role clarity, and we kind of are on deck for whatever we need to do, and we jump in and we help, which I completely understand. And so let me ask you this. As someone who is covering the team, have you found, how do I want to phrase this question? I guess more than a question, I just want to bounce back to you this, like, how important it is, do you believe, that this team that has like a mishmash of veterans and younger players, that people actually know what's expected of them night to night, and somehow then balancing that with the opportunity, if someone is playing really well, that you let them keep playing. But like, how important is role clarity, Connor? Like, I'm not sure why I'm being so awkward about this question. But
it's good. Yeah, you're getting the point. You're getting the context down. I think it's proving to be very important. I'll use this to segue into a point that I've kind of been coming to in my head lately. Is I think things feel a lot better when one of Anfernee Simons or Jerami Grant is in the not both, because I found myself when Anfernee Simons was down thinking like, oh, Jerami Grant fits into this pretty well, and then now that it's reversed and it's Anfernee Simons and Jerami Grant's been out, I'm like, part of it's Simons has been just playing better, but it makes more sense for everybody that one of those veterans is occupying that big usage role rather than both of them. It's makes it easier for Shaedon Sharpe to get his own and try things and put the ball in his hand and get those shot attempts. Part of it, I think, is Sharpe, because they were telling him all year to be more aggressive. They have been saying that like since day one. And even going back to last year, watching Shaedon Sharpe play, you kind of were like, dude, just like take over, like do it more, like you got it. Just so I think part of it has been he's been making a mental adjustment, but also it is just easier when there's more room for him to do it.
By the way, just I want to talk more about that too, about how maybe not having someone in the lineup provides some clarity for people to like step in and do stuff. But Jerami Grant, what's the deal? What's the deal with Jerami Grant? I'm looking at the injury report.
What's the deal with face contusions?
It literally says, go to ESPN.com right now. It says Grant, face has been ruled out for Tuesday's game against the Nets. My understanding is the team said he doesn't have a concussion or is not in the concussion protocol, but he got hit in the face and he's still out with face. So is he okay? How is Jerami Grant's face?
I don't have any like personal thing to like report on that. I haven't talked to Jerami. I've just been going off of what Chauncey and the updates have been. I never like, and when I don't know those things, I don't like to like speculate on.
Yeah, then you don't
because it's like you don't fully know, but like what point do I want to make here? One, like if
you don't know,
right now I don't know. I just I have to take the benefit of the doubt. There is one. I want to make 2 points. One, given the Blazers' track record over the last 4 seasons of shutting people down after the second half of the season, I just understand why people look at injury reports with like an eyebrow raise now. That's like, I think that's well,
as long as our face is okay. I mean,
yeah, and like I think Jerami was pretty like woozy. I heard after that hit. Sounds like it was a pretty like nasty knock in the face. So, but all I'm saying is like I understand the eyebrow raising given just the last few years of how injury reports have gone. I believe it. Like, I think the eyebrow raising is less valid at these stages of the season.
Yeah.
When
to be clear, my eyebrows are firmly lodged.
No eyebrow raised. Yeah.
I just was genuinely curious. If it's not a concussion, then what is it?
Yeah.
I don't know.
That is interesting. I would like kind of more. One way to avoid all, because people have been talking about it, at least on the internet, it's been in the comment boards. How is he out the song with face contusion? There, like, a little bit more clarity would probably help avoid some of the speculation. One thing is, I think this season the Blazers don't have to rush anybody back. And if, like I said, Denny and Tumani have been a good starting lineup lately, so maybe the people at Jerami Grant and the organization is like, hey, take your time, like, things are okay. There's no need to push anything. I am enjoying the, like, scenario of seeing what the world will be like without Jerami Grant, just for, like, data collection. So, like, I think these last 8 games have been valuable from that standpoint. Now you get to see Denny with more, like I said, Denny with more usage, the Shaden with more usage. You get to see Kris Murray get into the games a lot more. I just wrote about that the other day, and Kris Murray even said, they were like, what's been different for you? And he just was like, the first thing he said was stability. He's like, it's easier to know. It's easier to play better when you know when you're going in and you're going to be in more consistently. And he said that's just basketball. Like, he wasn't like saying, like, he wasn't trying to, like, diss any decision. He just was like, you would be weird if that wasn't the case for you. If you could just pop in for spot minutes and, like, stay great and be in a great rhythm all the time. So whatever we've taken your face contusion topic to a further place, but I think it has aided
logical conclusion.
It is, I guess we took it to where it needed to go. It has aided in the role clarity. The one thing, the point I did want to make too, is that people have been begging for Jerami Grant to not play for these exact reasons, and now he's not, and now it's like, well, why is he not playing?
Hold on, wait a minute, sir, you're directly offending me, sir, because I'm one of those people who didn't want Jerami Grant to play for all the reasons you said before, clarifying other people's roles, getting to see what this team looks like without at least all of its veterans in the way. Mm-hmm. And so I it's great. I think it's cool that we're getting to see what a Jerami Grantless team would look like. I was genuinely curious because I don't know what's going on with his face. It's the team is not particularly.
Yeah, I got no shining light there. So
fair enough. And most teams are not teams are different degrees of transparent with stuff like this. But let's be clear. Most NBA teams are not going to give you information they don't have to usually. Yeah. So this is I've heard on the internet, Connor, I can pull that one too, buddy. But I've heard on the internet that the Blazers, how dare they be secretive or less than forthcoming? And maybe they are a greater degree of less transparent about stuff, but let's not pretend that isn't the same across the league. Again, teams are not anxious for you to know every in and out. And so
they never give up anything.
I'm not particularly worried about that. It just would be interesting to know what's going on with his face. You mentioned Kris Murray. Let's talk about him. I suggested on the vaulted social media platform BlueSky that perhaps, Connor, twins Chris and Keegan have swapped places. I said, who would notice? Someone said the Kings, and I'm like, good point. Jokes about twins aside, what have you seen from Kris Murray? Because he has been playing better. His last 4 games, in fact, he's been averaging. I just had it. I was gonna sound so prepared and stuff, and then I lost it right as I was about to say it. But, 8 points and 3 boards, 2 dimes, but shooting 60% and pretty importantly, shooting 37% from deep. I think the Blazers wanted him to be especially a better long range threat than he has proven to be thus far in his career. But those statistics don't tell the whole story. So do tell us what else about the way Kris Murray has been playing or how he's been contributing that you've noticed that's, contributed to him looking as good as he has, because he has looked better?
Yeah, he's not like, it's not crazy, it's not, you wouldn't write like he's taking a huge leap. He's just being super solid, and he's looking like a viable NBA rotation player, which is a nice.
That's a huge leap from like unable to get into the rotation.
Yeah, from unable to get into the rotation.
So
he struggled a lot in summer league, and he talked about it. Like his shot wasn't really there. So yeah, it's. For him, it's a big step, and one of the media members turned to me the other day, and he was like, "Hey, Kris Murray looks like a legit player," and that's just exactly what it is. He's not shooting it as high as you would like him to yet. Like he's still under 30% on the whole season, and that's kind of the big key to him unlocking a different level, another level, but he does all the little things that help NBA teams and that great role players do. He cuts well, he rebounds well, he defends well, and he's not shooting it from three super well, but he's finishing so well around the rim that his field goal percentage still looks pretty good. And I came to this realization the other day, and I even asked him about it. It almost sounded maybe like a stupid question, because I was like, "You dunk it a lot. What's up with?
Do you dunk basketball?
Yeah, I was like,
how dunk?"
He kind of smiled, and I don't know if he was just laughing at the question or if he just thought it was nice that he was like, "Yeah, I do dunk it a lot." But he just does these two-handed clean dunks. Through traffic, on the break, on cuts. Like when he goes into the lane, you feel pretty comfortable about it. And the other thing is he's not making mistakes. So he's getting all these little bits of production in various ways. And then he's also not turning the ball over in the latest stretch. And so it just all accounts to like a positive contribution when he's in the game.
Yeah, I also speaking of his dunks, I sorted all of the Blazers players this year by number of dunks they have.
Where did you find it? Because I searched yesterday for my article.
It's a little site called basketballreference.com, my friend.
I was on the wrong sites.
Well, it's funny because, they have, at some point in the last couple of years, have made some of their stats behind a paywall, which I think is totally fine. You have a product people like and use and it works well, go ahead and charge money for it. But they still have dunks are unlocked, Connor, for you, people like you and I to look at for free. So let me ask you a question. If you were to guess the top 5 players on the Blazers with total numbers of dunks, because they don't it would be, I could probably do it if I spent a second or two, but they don't easily have dunks per minute. But who do you think is in the Blazers top 5 in dunks?
I love questions like these. Okay, we're gonna start with DeAndre Ayton.
He's number one. He's number one with 49 dunks on the year, and it makes up 16% of his field goal attempts. Okay, so he's number one.
Also, I forget microphones probably don't handle whistles super well, so apologies for that
if you do
process.
It to the side, usually
nice.
It's a little bit. Don't do it directly in. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Or get a pop filter. Never again. Don't pee into the wind. Don't whistle into a mic. Same thing.
It's okay. DeAndre number one.
Come back to get you.
Now, Donovan Clingan.
Donovan Clingan is third, in fact, in total dunks. Clingan has 29 dunks, making up an astounding 28% of his field goal attempts.
Oh, also, it's crazy because he hasn't played it so many games, but it shows
he's only played 494 minutes, so not a ton.
Okay, then I'll have to put Robert Williams in there then too. Is he?
He is 6th.
Okay, so not interesting.
Although I will say this, 14 dunks on the year for Mr. Williams. He does in fact have the highest dunk field goal attempt percentage at a mind-boggling 33% of his shots. In fact, are dunks. I mean, that's
I
unreal.
Love that, and that's so different from what the Blazers have had in the past. like Yusuf Nurkic, you wanted him to dunk more, and I love not a shout out Nurkic, but
shout out to Nurkic, who recently unfollowed Kevin Durant and Bradley Beal on Instagram.
Things are going down in Phoenix. Things are going down in Phoenix. I wrote
We're finding out.
Not to get too off topic, I wrote a quick article for Blazers Edge the other day about Cooper Flagg, and I said I titled it "Meanwhile in Durham, North Carolina." ... Yep. I would love to have like a reoccurring bit on Blazers Edge that's just meanwhile. All the articles are like meanwhile in Phoenix, meanwhile in New York. Every time there's drama or whatever, or Cooper Flagg's doing great, like just the meanwhile headline. I mean, we make up half of the number of editors of Blazers Edge. I think we should actually do that. I don't think it's a bad idea at all. It's fun. It's fun.
The problem with good ideas, Connor, is that now you have to implement the good idea. Although I will join you in that effort. I think let's do it. I love it. Tabling that. All right. So you have DeAndre Ayton at 1, Donovan Clayton at number 3, Robert Williams at 6. So who do you think is at 2, 3, and 5?
And I'll get him out fast. Shaedon Sharpe has to be in there, right?
Number 2, 29 dunks, although only 0.7% of his attempts, but he plays a lot. So
yeah. Jerami Grant.
4. He is 8th. He only has 8 dunks.
Denny.
Yep.
Denny?
No, he is 7th. He only has 9 dunks.
Wow. Yep. Okay, who am I? Really? I know this is ending up in Kris Murray at probably number 5.
Exactly, with 19 dunks, making up 17% of his shots, which is kind of a lot. So missing
it's crazy for how limited his playing time is that he has that he's out there already. Who am I missing? It can't be Simons.
No, it's not.
I'm missing somebody obvious. Tumani.
Yeah, that's right. Tumani Kamara at 4th. I had 20 dunks, only 8% of his field goal attempts. But again, he is, of that list of players, has played by far the most minutes. In fact, I will point out that I believe Tumani Kamara just very recently passed Anfernee Simons for leading the Blazers in minutes played on the year, which is pretty stunning.
Wow.
Which also kind of makes sense. But good job, Connor. Round of applause for you. You did really well. I don't know.
I struggled with the Tumani, but the rest
you did great. I feel like if the shoe would have been on the other foot, I would have been not doing quite as well. It does. Like, I don't know if the stats bear it out, and I'm not going to check last year, but it feels like the Blazers are dunking more than they have.
For sure. Memory. The lob attempts are really, they do it almost too much. Like, there's a lot of lobs that don't get there, but there also are a fair amount that succeed, and it is fun.
It is fun. We like to see players play above the rim if they can, and it's just a contrast to years past. So we've talked about Kris Murray. I did want to get back to young Anfernee Simons, someone who was much ballyhooed for the way that he began the year, and it wasn't particularly great. He was averaging near career lows in any meaningful statistic you could find since he's become a starter. But Connor, he has been coming on. And I mean, you and I talked about it, and we talked about, and I'm trying to remember the specific game it was where it really felt like he kind of broke out. Was it the Denver game?
How far back are we going?
Just the middle of December.
Is that the one where he had the third quarter where he popped off, or no?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was. Or maybe it wasn't. I don't know, man. But like
they blur together. They really do.
They do. It's a long season. It might have was it way back at the Dallas game at the beginning of the month?
I mean, that was his like.
Yeah.
I don't know if he kept that up right after that. I think he still had a few like clunkers after that.
He did. But like. You kind of felt the ice thawing. At any rate, I'm rambling a little bit, but Connor, I'm going to ask you about him, so get ready. But before that, some stats. Again, from our friends at basketballreference.com. Please sponsor us. But Anfernee Simons, they got tons of cash. Anfernee Simons in his last 8 games, 25.1 points per game. 3.4 boards, 5.8 assists. Importantly, shooting 49% from the field. It's very good. 47.6% from deep on 10 attempts. That is absolutely not going to keep up, but it's very nice to see. Conor, he's been playing better. What's the vibe that you get from him over the last couple weeks? Does it like being around him or adjacent to him? Is his energy any different? Is he burning a different kind of sage? Like, what's going on? Like, get us deep into the mind of Anfernee Simons. Why you psychoanalyze this man?
Not too much from the psychoanalysis standpoint. But
tell me all of his vulnerabilities so we can spread. No, I'm just kidding.
Just from the watching the game standpoint, I things feel better balanced with him, and then maybe again this is part of like when it's one of Jerami Grant or Anfernee Simons. I need to like look more into this hypothesis.
This episode is sponsored by Roll Clarity.
Yeah, Roll Clarity. I think one thing is it doesn't seem like he's forcing too much. Like on one of the more recent games, it was the Miami game, so Saturday, he had 2 shots in the first quarter. And the team, like Shaedon Sharpe was initiating a lot of the stuff, and he was kind of, you could tell he was feeling his way into the game. And just the point I'm trying to make is there's been less. He's forcing it less. Okay. I have a point in here. I'm struggling to get it. Yeah, it's been more fluid. It's been more in the flow. There's one thing is he's making shots better. Obviously, like that's a big part of it.
It helps when you're known as someone who can shoot if the ball goes into the basket.
that is one thing I've been noticing more shots off the catch. It's and when I say he's forcing it less, he's taking less of those just like deep pull up threes when things aren't working. For a while, it's in the beginning when he was really struggling, it seemed like he was just trying to like shoot his way out of the funk, and he was missing those heat checks where like he would take heat checks without even being hot yet. And
what do we call a heat check when you're not hot? A cold check? Cool check?
Yep,
cool
so
check.
cold.
Yeah, jeez, yeah.
But
frosty.
Yeah, no, and those misses were so loud. Like when that would happen, because it was already like struggling. It's
like, what are you doing? Like it's
So I think
in the flow, you're not hot. Yeah.
So part of it is he's just letting the game come to him, and now when he's taking some of those shots, they seem more opportunistic and at like the right moments when the team needs them, rather than when things aren't working and it's just like I think they call them FU threes sometimes. Mm-hmm. So, and I think part of that's Shaedon coming along and being more of a on-ball playmaker, and Denny coming along and being more of an on-ball playmaker. Like they're able to find him in spots that the looks are easier now. And now when he has that kind of off-ball game working, then when he's creating a little bit on-ball, it's like, oh hell yeah! Like it just everything fits so much nicer. Like you enjoy it more. There's only been a few games where it seems like he's just dominating the ball, and that drives. I hear all the fans. It drives everybody crazy when he dominates the ball and they're losing. There's only been a few times where I've kind of been like, they need to move it more. And just one example was in that Mavericks game when they kind of started to unravel. The Blazers have a tendency in the last 2 minutes to go to Anfernee Simons' ball, and they've been doing it all year with varying success. And sometimes that can sometimes you're like, keep doing the things that was working. But that is NBA culture, like gameplay. It's just like in the last 2 minutes, get the ball on who you think is your best player and go for it. They did that in the Mavericks game with like what felt like 8 minutes left. And it was like, this is far too much Anfernee Simons too early to already go into this stage. So a long-winded answer. I'm happy I was able to get to, I think, the points I wanted to make. But he's fitting in better with with Denny and Shaden, and they're all kind of it seems like they're actually working off each other better and kind of figuring out how to play with each other so that the more ball dominant parts of Anfernee Simons' game feel and look more effective when he decides to use them.
That makes a lot of sense. And also in their kind of, they need to play with each other, which is part of why people would like to, maybe not specifically for Anfernee Simons, who some people, me included, think should be traded, but like, you're not going to look your best if you don't know the people that you're playing with as part of it. Something that didn't come up in that comprehensive answer was, in fact, and I don't know why this would have come up, but it's coming from my brain from left field, only tangentially related. You had mentioned like the Blazers going to Simons ball, something that I have noticed, and I'm far from the world's best basketball analyst, but Anfernee Simons, when he's on the court, if the Blazers are in trouble, if their first and second action isn't there, and there's like 7, 6, 5 left on the shot clock, Simons seems to pick up a lot of grenades. And this seems to happen with consistency, but with particular consistency from Shaden Sharp. And I'm curious if that's something that you have noticed. I don't have the data to back it up.Maybe it's just like me anecdotally seeing it once, be like, oh, I saw that happen. And you see it one more time. And so maybe a wee bit of Brandon's confirmation bias, but is that a thing that you see happening?
Are you saying Shaden Sharp's the one passing them off to Simons?
So my opinion, I think I have seen more than I'd like to. Shot clock is kind of winding down. Shaden has the ball. And instead of him taking the responsibility, like do something with it, he's like, Anfernee, take it. And then it's like, well, that's kind of, it's a little unfair, I feel like. I get like, it's kind of to your point earlier that like you look for your best player. He's a more veteran player. Like that part of the logic, I understand, but it doesn't really seem fair to just be handing off a hot potato to a guy at the end of the shot clock. I'm not saying it happens all the time, but it seems like it happens with more frequency than I would like, and particularly with Shaden Sharp relinquishing that responsibility at the end of the shot clock. I don't know. Is that, you can disabuse me of that notion. Is that something that's maybe just me confirmation biasing that, or is that something you've also seen?
I'm not gonna disagree with it. It's not something that I've highlighted in my own brain, and at tonight's game I will be looking for it.
No, don't let me infect you.
No. This is I'm curious. I'll because somebody brought up a point in the Blazers Edge comment section. I'm not getting all my basketball takes from the Blazers Edge comment section, but I will highlight the ones that I like and enjoy. Everything I know is all from those guys. Exactly. So the point though that the person made was it was because I wrote an article last week about Shaden Sharp taking more responsibility with kind of like role clarity and he's doing better with it than he was last year, and not only is he doing kind of better with it, it's just nice to see him, for better or worse, take on that bigger role. Somebody pointed out, they said, it's great to see Shaden doing this, being more aggressive, taking more responsibility. And they said, I think this is the perfect amount for what he can handle right now. And I thought that was a very good point, and I think it's why I've been enjoying Anfernee's game more lately, is because Shaden, I think he's at like the proper usage right now for his skills to get a good development track. And Anfernee being there right now as a guy who can take off that pressure, this is where I see the value of that in this specific case. And maybe this is what made your grenade point made me think of this as just like Shaden. Like he might be like, not overwhelmed is the right word, but like it just shows that, he kind of needs Anfernee right now in some of these situations, or it's a helpful thing because he is not taking those grenade shots, like you said. Like he's not fully figuring out how to always be effective against defenses. So this is where a guy like Anfernee Simons to pitch it out to and take a shot, is probably helpful for a young player.
Yeah. And like, I mean, all of this is a balance, right? And like we've talked in previous episodes about the balance of developing, like you need time and opportunity. You also need a structure. You also need other players around you that complement you. You need some amount of like older players who are helpful and can like maintain that structure. And so like I was trying to peruse the comment section of that very story that you referenced. I couldn't find the specific comment that you referenced, but like it's interesting flipping through the diaspora of opinions that people have about players. And not only that, but how people take such different things from the very same games or plays, right? And they ascribe different meaning to it. So I don't know why I'm getting philosophical about this all of a sudden, but like, yes.
No, it's crazy how I can... sometimes I'm astounded by the difference of opinions on certain games.
Sometimes I'm amazed that anyone would ever disagree with me. And it deeply hurts my feelings, and I can't stand it. No, just kidding. Okay, so the Blazers are, they are what they are. They're a 13-25 team. They're marching off to face the Brooklyn Nets tonight. The trade deadline is coming up. And I know that as we continue recording, we're probably going to be talking more and more about trade rumors. We didn't really get into it today. I saw out of the corner of my eye that there was some chatter somewhere on the internet about an Orlando Magic Anfernee Simons thing. The reason why I'm going to note that as being interesting is that the Magic are weirdly competitive and have stayed weirdly competitive even as Paolo Banchero had been out for an extended period. And so they may be looking to like actually try to do something in an Eastern Conference, which is quite soft. But the second reason why I think that's interesting is Simons and the Magic have been linked for a long time. I think Anfernee Simons is from the Orlando area, and not that he can decide where he goes, but also because there was a podcast that it was the Dunked On podcast with Nate Duncan and Danny Rue, the only basketball podcast I pay to subscribe to, where they were talking about the not GM of the Year awards, and Joe Cronin featured heavily in that conversation. But some of what they said, and I wanted your response to this, was that they were criticizing Joe Cronin for not having already traded Jerami Grant and Anfernee Simons, and Daniel LaRue slipped in something where he said blah blah blah. He was trying to give some grace to Joe Cronin for not having traded Anfernee Simons specifically. And he said, blah, blah, blah. Well, the Magic didn't really make a strong offer for him, for Simons. So all to say, like, I mean, I don't know if there's a reaction from you in this, but I am noting that as we get closer to the trade deadline, which is February 4th? Well, I should know this. Do you know this?
It's 6th. It's February 6th. I do know it. Nice.
At February 6th at 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Pacific. Set your watches, kids. But as the NBA trade deadline gets closer, I do think that an Anfernee Simons Orlando Magic thing might be something to keep an eye on, particularly if Anfernee Simons is going to play better, which he has been. So I don't know, like, you don't have to respond to all of that. That's just me kind of rumor mongering, and really like me taking rumor mongering and then mongering on top of it. So like rumor mongering.
This is what the glory days of aggregation was, though. It was from what I've been told, it was not only do you aggregate it, but you discuss and you break it down. So no, it's valid.
Do you have any Magic Anfernee Simons stuff besides?
Thoughts?
I don't know. Like, I don't know. Yeah. What are you gonna say? Like, what's there to say?
Yeah, where am I going to say?
It's like, if it happens, okay.
Yeah, but no,
Let me ask you this. I'm pivoting on you, but it's the same. Like, the kind of player that Anfernee Simons has shown he can be, and is, I think, currently showing he is. I mean, I think he make a fit on plenty of teams. Is there like
oh, for sure.
Yeah. So talk more. I'm going to give you a talk about question. Talk more about that. Talk about that.
Yeah, I think Anfernee Simons is he's a good shooter. Any team looking for scoring could use Anfernee Simons. I am still early on in my own gauging of trade markets. That's something I am trying to establish more of a knowledge of. But from all I've been reading about the trade market is that this whole luxury tax hell that has been unleashed by the second apron is making things very difficult. And I have noticed in the national articles that I've been reading lately a very negative shift towards Joe Cronin's hanging on of the veterans. Yeah. And I hate to give it'll be interesting to see, but I don't fully to be honest, I don't know myself about trade markets. So the general consensus that I'm starting to see though form is that he has waited too long, and the idea was that he would, all the deals weren't as good as they wanted them to be the last year. So don't just get rid of him to get rid of him. Wait and sit on it until you get the better deal. It sounds like the trade market is
the market dynamics changed,
it sounds like it's not. It sounds like it's not happening.
Good.
Yeah, the players weren't playing as good. I think I always thought less of that argument with Simons and Grant, because I feel like the way that they can fit in on lesser roles on contending teams negates some of their struggling in big roles in Portland. That is one opinion that I've held. That is my own. But we've
seen Jerami Grant play a lesser role on better teams, and he sort of affirmatively said, I would like to play a bigger role on a worse team, took a huge deal with the Pistons, and several years later, here we are. Anfernee Simons, not so much, who's obviously drafted by Portland and hasn't played anywhere else, so we don't know what he would be or what he wants. I also don't know how much that figures into their trade value. Jerami Grant doesn't want to play a lesser role. I don't know if that really matters unless you think he's going to not play, which I don't get that impression.
No, I don't get that either. And I view Grant as just such a good auxiliary piece for a team. When the Mavericks picked up PJ Washington last year, guy he's not a star, but he can provide scoring and just a lot of things. When he's not your number 2 guy, if he's your number 4 guy, I think that's a great spot for him to be in. But I'm so curious to see, because we're about to get answers, which is the crazy part. I looked at the calendar today and I was like, oh my God, we're less than a month away. So the word that's coming down is that Cronin has waited too long, and I'm hoping he didn't for the goodness of the Blazers. I'm hoping that, and I think a big part of it was the Lakers made that deal and got rid of D'Angelo Russell, and that was kind of a big. That was the big kind of destination that made sense, right. And now that's off the table. So it's who's going to emerge, and it sounds like the market is trending towards. It's just less easy now to get off these big contracts, even if the players are pretty good. So we'll see.
We'll see. Some of it too, and again, I don't profess to be an expert, but when we talk about NBA market dynamics and what makes a market ripe for trades or not, you need to have teams who want players, but then also have the salary mechanisms to absorb them, especially given the new, slightly more restrictive rules around trades and matching salary and so on and so forth, especially for expensive teams. And so that's something that I think, my opinion, is that Joe Cronin, and maybe nobody could have foreseen, but he did not foresee that independently of how well Jerami Grant or Anfernee Simons may play, it would be more difficult to trade them because there would be a dearth of teams who would have both the desire and the mechanisms to trade for those players. I think that's one thing that's happening.
Yes. Another
thing that was happening with Anfernee Simons, he wasn't playing that well. He's playing better now. But then the last thing is that Connor, he's only under contract for one more year. So what do the Blazers expect to get for someone like Anfernee Simons, and again, I don't know why I have to keep qualifying this. Neither one of us are like super duper experts about league-wide trade dynamics, but we do our best. But if the thought was that before the narrative you could tell yourself about Anfernee Simons is that he's a youngish player with maybe potential or something who's under contract for a little bit.
A decent contract,
on a decent deal in a rising cap environment. Therefore, ... he's not in his 30s, whatever. Therefore, 2 first-round picks. That's completely out the window. That's not going to happen. And so now you're like, is Joe Cronin, having waited, is he willing to take probably a protected first-round pick and some seconds? Is he willing to like take a bunch of seconds? I don't know, man.
Is he going to punt and just like accept the market? If it's as low as this, is he gonna just do it? Like, is he gonna offload him?
This is okay. Now you're getting my cockles raised. Now I'm getting angry, Connor, because here's the deal. You keep all these veterans on this team. It's like we talked about earlier. You don't get clarity about who players are. They don't have the space to breathe and to show you what they can do. I think it would be a pretty woeful mismanagement of this team if there were no veterans traded at this trade deadline specifically. Given Anfernee Simons' contract,
I do like one. Just you gotta get one off.
At least so. Anyway, I Papa Joe, I love you. Not coming for you. But also, it's the meme with the stick, and you're poking the franchise, saying, "Come on, do something."
No. For several reasons, the role clarity, the also just covering the team. I'm so sick of comments about wanting to trade the veterans. Like, from a selfish journalism standpoint, I'm like, I would love to not be dealing with that story anymore.
Also, give us some content, for the love of Pete.
Think about Blazers Edge.
Think about the content. You got to think about the aggregators and the reporters in this, okay? Like, think about the columnists.
This brings me to this has been the big thesis forming in my head over the last few weeks, is that because the Blazers
PhD. Okay,
yes, my brother's doing a dissertation as we speak, so this is my dissertation.
I'm curious.
It is about formative change, or no. The program was called social change. He is doing a PhD on affordable housing and how media coverage of affordable housing frames the issue is like my weaker understanding of what he's doing. But not to get too shy. By the way, you guys are actually in similar fields, kind of. So I would love to.
Really? Yeah. Let's
connect. We're gonna make that happen. So my dissertation of the Blazers is because the Blazers aren't very good, right? They're not very good. That's not unexpected, though. That's what people expected to see for
kind of by design.
But people are still very angry, even the people who expected to see them not be good. And I've kind of
they're not good in the specific way in which we wanted them to not be good. They're not good in the way in which we wanted them to not be good.
Yeah, and this is my dissertation.
I'm half joking, but like sort of.
No, but it's slightly true. It's slightly serious. Yeah. The grace period of this rebuild of getting housed by so many points and losing so many games has slightly been corrupted or removed because people are. The grace period would be there if it's Scoot Henderson, Ryan Rupert, Shaedon Sharpe, Kris Murray going out there and losing by so many points every night. I think that would be true. I think people would take it better, but it's because it's a lot of veterans who are blocking some minutes for Klingon, who are blocking minutes who are blocking minutes for Murray. Ryan Rupert hasn't even really played very much. Scoot Henderson is up and down, but again, he's not getting maybe the full runway that you would hope. So that is the tug of war that is messing up fans. The grace period that fans were willing to give the organization. It's because my brothers who are right now, they're more casual fans. They've been like, why are people so mad? Isn't this supposed to happen? And it's like, yes, but there's
not in this way.
Not in this way. There's confusion with the veterans. Yeah. And then on top of that, the losses, some of the bigger losses have also muddied things up.
There's also and I think that's not to crap on what you just said, because I think that's a good kind of summary of things and the dynamics at play with Blazers fandom. And by the way, Blazers fans are a fickle bunch, are we not? But part of it too is there's we're not going to get into it tonight. In fact, we're getting close to the end, but a very strong kind of anti-Billups thing, right? Where people, and perhaps Conor, me included, as a imperfect arbiter of objective reality, I sometimes ascribe to circumstances meaning that may not be there, including something bad happened must be because of Chauncey, and I'm guilty of that. I've seen other people be guilty of that. So there's also that part of it for this season too, where it's when you do get the big losses or the weird rotations or the this, that, they blow a huge lead at the end of the game. People get upset about Chauncey Billups still being the coach. I suspect that may resolve at the end of the season, but it's not going to resolve anytime soon. But I'll just say, the Blazers are in a weird spot. Bringing us all the way back to the beginning of, I think, where this talking point started, would be nice to get some role clarity. Trade one of the veterans and see what you have. The trade deadline is coming up and we'll be talking about it more. Conor, before we break, and by break I mean end the episode, the Blazers are at home and they are facing the Nets tonight, then the Clippers, Rockets, Bulls. So 4 games at home: Nets, Clippers, Rockets, Bulls. Your prediction, please. Number of wins in those 4 games.
Nets, Clippers, Rockets, Bulls. Win versus the Nets, 1.
Bold.
Loss. Man, the Nets aren't good. They're so bad.
Yeah,
they've lost 5 straight. And people might be mad that the Blazers win this game, but it's they are better than the Nets.
Yeah, definitely.
But who knows? They could still lose. But I'm going to mark it down as a win. Clippers loss. Rockets loss. Bulls loss.
Yeah. I'm with you. I think
the Bulls is a toss-up for me, but I'm going to say loss. So
of course the Blazers are going to do something weird and beat the Rockets. That's weird.
Exactly.
I think that makes sense. All right, so we've got plenty to look forward to. We've got plenty to talk about. Is there anything else that you wanted to hit on before we adjourn for this episode?
No, I think we got. I always think about after pods. I wanted to say that there and that there, but in the given time, I think we have got where we needed to go.
I think that we did great, and if you want to do great with us, you can always do that at WeLikeTheBlazers.com. You can find us on BlueSky. Look for him, Conor Bergen, for myself, Brandon Mullen Goldner Mullen. What am I doing with my name? At the beginning, I just said Mullen. Just type in Brandon Blazers and something will pop up, and you can also find We Like the Blazers on basically any pod feed. We are so proud to be a part of the Blazers Edge family of podcasts with the Rogue Media Network, which includes Trail Daddy with Dave Deckard and Rip City Roundtable with Cory Dickman. So until next time, I'm Brandon, that's Conor. We appreciate you all, and go Blazers.